Hey guys! 皆さんこんにちは。キャンチャンネルのロレッタです。で、ご覧の通り、My baby is here! I had a baby in Japan! What? Wow. So, this video is a long time coming, and my original plan for how this is going to go, aka I was going to bring my mom here, I was going to have the baby, and I was going to take a long maternity leave, none of those things actually worked out. I just kind of last minute ended up having the baby alone and being on my own for the bulk of the time since then, so I had to really buckle down and make sure that this one was doing okay. I think we've got a little rhythm going on together. And I'm really excited to finally share my daughter. Want to say hi? Let's get a little close-up action. Want to say hi to everyone? Hi. Oh, yeah. 皆さんこんにちは。キャミスチャンネルのベイビーちゃんです。よいしょ。So, I'm pretty sure we're not going to share her real name. We're probably going to come up with some kind of nickname for you guys to use. And we're still working on what that is. When I was pregnant, we called her Mac because I ate a bunch of apples, like Macintosh apples type of thing. Now that she's born, we've been calling her Chateau because she's the boss now. We'll work on the nickname and maybe we'll vote on it later. But for now, this is my baby. And I'm going to share the top shocks of everything that went through the whole birth in Japan experience, but the positive side of it. I have kind of a deep shocks version that I'm going to do in the next video, but for now, let's keep it light, let's keep it happy, because I'm super happy with this baby. Number one was the hospital experience. In Japan, there is a choice basically between a private clinic and a more public university hospital type deal. In my case, I actually went with what was technically a birthing labor private clinic, so it's a little bit different, but I noticed across the board after talking with my friends that there are a couple similarities. Basically, you stay a lot longer at the hospital than you would in comparison to the States. I know a lot of people in the States talk about getting shucked out of there like a piece of corn in 24 hours, and thankfully in Japan that's not the case. You're given a lot longer to recover, and you have nurses 24/7 to help you. There are lactation specialists, there's meal plans, there's basically everything you need for about up to a week to really get settled and get used to your little buddy before you get shucked out on the old farmlands. I found out after the fact that it's very common in Japan that you're able to take your baby and give them over to the nursery, so the nurses will watch them even at night if you want to sleep overnight and just get through the night and have your own good night's rest. But I was so kind of dazed by everything that when the nurses were like, "じゃあ疲れましょうか?" I just kind of saw it as a challenge, no, I don't need you to watch my baby. I can watch my baby. I'm a good mom. I don't know why I felt this need to rise above it from minute zero. And I actually kept her with me alone in my room the entire time and exhaust myself. So you do have the option in a lot of places to give the baby to the nurse's station for as long as you need to recover. And that's a really cool perk because let's just be serious. It's a doozy. In Japan, it depends on the hospital, but basically, great service, lots of help, and depending on how much service or how much insurance crazy stuff you do, some of it can be completely free. Most of it can be completely free. So yeah, great, helpful, cheap. I love it. That being said, I'm gonna tell you something that blew my mind. If you are having a generally easy pregnancy without any major complications or anything like that, if you think that knowing your own constitution that the whole labor birth thing will probably be kind of maybe normal as well, if that's what you're anticipating, then I highly recommend going to a private clinic over the big universities, because the services at these private clinics are just so nice. I'm telling you, I actually caught myself calling it a hotel more than a hospital. I was like, oh yeah, my time at the hotel. I was like, it's not a hotel, it's a hospital. Now this is not the case for everyone. This is not the case, but my place had amazing food. I'll show you in a second. It also had amazing services. I had an aromatherapy massage on day 3 of my hospital visit there, along with therapy sessions. I had like an ice bath and tea. I was like, hold on. I had more care in the week after my giving birth to Shacho over here than I think I've ever given to myself, honestly. I was like, what is this? If you're thinking you can do it, I highly recommend going the private clinic route, because that was the bee's knees. Another shock was the words, the language aspect of being in the hospital in Japan. In my case, I wasn't really worried about having English because I speak Japanese. I really wanted the services as much as I could get more than the English experience. So, shacho. Basically, the amount of times that people use the words oppai in public, everything was like, give them boob. Did you give your baby the boob yet? Did you give baby the boob? It's like, what's all this talk about boobs all the time? Like, everything was oppai, to the point that like we'd wake up in the morning and I was like, oppayo gozaimasu. In textbooks you'll see words like junyu suru, to give milk. Like, that's what you'll see maybe at like a nursery room out in public, but in real life when people are talking you'll hear a lot of oppai, and it was just like, I was not prepared coming from some kind of prohibitionist country. The word milk, miruku, does not mean all milk. Miruku specifically means formula in Japanese. So I had to very quickly learn the difference between the different types of ways to feed babies. So there's oppai ageru, junyu suru, miruku ageru, miruku o tsukuru. She's a fan. She may be hungry, actually. Speaking of which, 1 second. And y'all wondering why it took so long for me to get videos out. Alright, meltdown averted. Junyu suru. Like she said. Another word that shocked me was push. You don't say push in the labor room, you say ikinde. I was like, ikinde? What is ikinde? Is that like to live? Like ikiru, ikinde? No, it's not. It's a different word. I thought maybe it was like bikimu, like to like put power into it, but it's not. It's ikinde. ちなみに日本の皆さん、ikindeの由来って何ですか？コメントで書いていただけますか？まだ調べてない。And then the other word that shocked me is that it seemed like every word was like suwaru. I think this is where I started to lose my mind, but it started to feel like everybody was saying like suwaru, suwaru, like 首が座ってないから like 授乳するときに座れてる感じがする or even like during the whole battle 赤ちゃんに酸素ゆっくり吸って it's like 吸って座れてる everything just this word just never ended. Because of everything that was going on, I was in the hospital for a full week on my own, just me and the nurses, and so it was basically just me and them in Japanese all the time with the baby. There was no English whatsoever, so everything was ちょっとお手って邪魔素晴らしい偉いわかるごめんすぐあげるわかった1、2の3よいしょダメちょっとねんねするI think she's sleepy too. I'll follow up with more baby words in another video. Another thing that was kind of like a fun experience, less of a shock and more of a fun experience for me, was the amount of cultural things, oh, I'm going to be a little quiet, was the amount of cultural things that I was given during my experience there. The amount of anzan omahori that I received from friends around me was so helpful, so amazing. They're kind of like safe birth good luck charms that are like blessed by a priest in Japan. But I was basically like, bring it on. If you're gonna give me some of that anzan, you best bring it on. Anzan, bring it on. The thing that's really cool is that when you give birth in Japan, they actually give you, believe it or not, the piece of the umbilical cord in a cedar box, a nice little pillowed box, so you can keep it forever, because it's supposed to be like a beautiful connection between you and the baby that you're supposed to keep forever. Right after I had the baby, they handed me a rice ball and orange juice and some umbilical cord. It was quite the shock. Another thing is that they have really great swag, especially at the private clinics. They give you a bunch of free stuff to try. So many diapers, so many wipes, so much stuff stuff. I even got a stipend from the city government, actually, giving me more money than I was supposed to use for diapers. So, and then on top of that, I also got like stretch bands, belly bands. I was also really shocked by the private rooms. Your own room, your own shower, and they brought the food to you. My room was pretty sweet. I brought a bunch of stuff that I could have, like creature comforts in my room, and I didn't even need it. I even bought a breastfeeding pillow, but I didn't even need a breastfeeding pillow because they gave it to you in the actual hospital, along with a nice donut pillow. I came in with 2 huge bags, and I only needed none. The next thing that really blew me away was the food. Say it with me. Private clinics have better food than hospitals. Private clinic, better food than hospitals. They really do. I bought a lot of snacks off of iHerb. I'm talking granola and honey nut checks. I bought a lot of stuff. Sorry, baby. But I didn't even need all of it because there was 3 wonderful, gorgeous meals brought to the room, as well as like snack time with cakes and tea. What is that? So I had to like remember to eat my organic fruit lollipops because I didn't need them because the food was just so flippin' good. We had like, I remember calling my parents, I was like, they have caviar, they have spare ribs, there's foie gras. They were like, foie gras? I don't know no foie gras. You don't know foie gras? I don't know no foie gras. They have foie gras. If you wanted to change it to like a vegetarian menu, to halal menu, you could ask for different specifications. Honestly, I might ask them about the vegan menu next time. I'm not vegan, but I know a lot of you people are looking for a hospital that does vegan food in Japan. So I'll check it out. I'll report back. The other thing that blew my mind were these services after birth, right around the time that your baby gets almost this big. Uh-oh, back down. It depends on what city you're in, of course, but the services that you get in Japan after birth are amazing. Fill out a little bit of paperwork and kaboom! Suddenly you've got like this huge stipend. There's also a midwife that comes to your house about a month after, which at first I was like, why is someone coming to my house? But it actually was really helpful because I was like, I just realized I don't have a big sis in this country, and since me and my husband are both foreign, we have no idea what we were doing, and having like a Japanese big sis come over and just talk to us for an hour about like the best apps, the best sitters, the best services, the best massages, the best like how to take your baby into a hot spring, what to do if you need like an emergency service in the middle of the night. What happens if you get called to work suddenly and there's nobody to watch the baby? Who do you call? It's not the Ghostbusters. Like, I googled things, but these things don't come up. This kind of like big sis advice was huge for us. So huge. Beazu, Tasukaji for house cleaning, house for sitters. In sum, the food, the nurses, and the services were out of this world. In Japan, just like having a baby, being supported by all these great services is not all that bad. It was actually, I mean, it wasn't like nice, it was labor. It was a love of labor, labor love. It was a lot better, I think, than if I was in the States. So I would, with some caveats, definitely recommend. That being said, I'll explain this in part 2 of this video, but girls, if you are looking for an epidural, if you are looking for pain management, that's not going to be your thing in this country. We're going to talk about this in a whole nother video. Yes, there are epidurals and pain management, but it's not what you're thinking. I promise you, it's not what you're thinking. Don't write that comment. I know what you're thinking. It's not what you're thinking. We're going to talk about it next time. Otherwise, it's all good. It's all great. And I feel incredibly free and excited now that I am back on the other side of motherhood. This is my baby. This is my most favorite person in the world. I'm gonna put a vlog out over on the vlog channel showing like everything that happened, but basically I got in the taxi. Boomer and I took an hour-long taxi to the hospital. He dropped me off at the hospital. I stayed in the hospital for a week and stuffed my face for the entire time and got to know this cool little buddy. And yeah, we came home. She met the dog. It was super sweet. Labor was 17 hours. It was great. I love you guys, and I love this one even more. We'll talk very soon. And yeah. では今日もご視聴ありがとうございました. It's about time for a nap or playtime or something. We're gonna figure it out. Say bye, 社長。みんなに挨拶して。皆さんにバイバイ。おてて。おてて。Is that a bird?